Ever wanted something so badly that you're manifesting it, you're putting your heart, your soul, your actions, everything you have into it, only for it to freaking fall apart and you feel like a failure and you don't know what to do? Today, I'm going to be telling you a personal story of how this happened and the layers I had to go through to ultimately get what I wanted manifested. This is a story of how to turn failure into success, even when you don't see how it's possible. Hey everyone, it's Acacia, the CEO legal coach, and we are here with the Aligned Business Series where we go live 3 times a week answering your questions on the air about the topic. And today's topic is about manifesting and when things go wrong. When you're in the I failed, I feel like an utter failure, and you want to scream and you want to cry, and it just doesn't make sense. So go ahead. This story will probably take about 3 to 5 minutes to tell. And then I want to hear your questions, okay? Because I want to hear if any of you have experienced something like this. So it was very simple. I have a very unique background. For those of you who have ever heard my background, it's a very unique one. Statistically, I shouldn't even be alive. And so I decided to turn this into a talk, a TED talk, an inspirational talk, something of that nature. And I worked with a coach. I hired a coach to help me with it. We wrote what we thought was a good one. She's very renowned in the TED world, multiple TED speaker, published author, all of those types of things. And I decide to manifest speaking this talk, right? Giving this talk. And what I decided to ask the universe for was I wanted to be on stage telling my personal story in a way that inspired others and helped others heal. That's what I asked the universe to help me manifest. And almost instantly, I was told there's going to be a TED Talk right down the street from my house. Right down the street from my house. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I felt so aligned with that TED Talk. But I was like, how am I going to get in? How am I going to do this? So I start researching, and this event was so new, it hadn't even been announced. So it was very interesting that I was aware of it, right? The universe is really putting me into alignment. And then the universe is like, I want you to go pick up a pen right now and write these words down. So I picked up a pen, I just wrote these words down. It's like as almost as if I wasn't even the one writing. Somebody else was writing it for me. These words like go email, not email, go LinkedIn this person and send it to them. And I'm like, I don't know that person. I have no reason to reach out to that person. I don't do salesy stuff on LinkedIn. That's not who I am. What am I going to do with this? And it goes, oh no, you'll have a reason. The very next morning, a reason came up for me to reach out to this person completely unrelated to my talk. And something said, just copy paste what you wrote yesterday into your message. So I do send off this cold, random whatever to this person. And this person replies back same day. Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yes. Happy to connect. Happy to do things. By the way, read your synopsis at the bottom. I want you on the list for the TED Talk. And I was just like, what? Oh my gosh, the universe is doing an amazing thing. Suddenly, this new TED Talk opens up right here next to me. I'm get connected to the guy who's leading it. This is the number one guy in charge of this. I didn't know that, but that's who LinkedIn, the universe had me connect with LinkedIn. I messaged him this. He wants Mendel's. He starts following up with me about my talk and about where we are in the selection process and this stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, the universe is amazing. The universe is just putting this on a silver platter for me. How beautiful and amazing is that? So as time goes on, I continue to work with my coach, and we're really, really refining that. And we send off the script when it's time, because eventually you have to send the full script word for word to a TED Talk for approval. And I do this, and then things go silent. And we're getting close to the official announcement of who is on the list. And all of a sudden, that week, a horrific event occurs. A horrific event occurs where the TED Talk was supposed to be, would be given, and 3 people lose their lives. And that horrific event is a type of event that I was talking about in my talk because it's something that I had experienced. And it was just like, oh my God, I can't use the words I've chosen in my story, in that part of that in my talk, to an audience that has just lost 3 people because of this. I have to change it. I have to update this. So I go back into my heart and into my coach and everything. And I was like, this is what I feel needs to change. This is what I needs to be said. And we send that to the lead guy of the TED Talk, and he just replies back, "I'm sorry, but you've not been selected." What? This is what I was manifesting. I was manifesting a talk and the whole universe handing me the TED Talk on a silver platter. It was right here, right now. Right down the street from me. What are you talking about? I didn't make the list. What? So I just didn't know what to do. I had this talk and I didn't know what to do with it. And I would try to get into other places here and there, but it just wasn't working out. And I was so frustrated. I had worked so hard. I had paid a coach. I had this talk. It was ready to go. What do you mean I don't have a stage to speak it on? And this happens and goes on. Now, I went and attended that TED event as an audience member, and it broke my heart. It totally broke my heart. I wanted to support them. I wanted to be there. I wanted to, just in case there's that last chance, somebody doesn't show up and I'm there ready to talk. My talk is good. It's, proved by TED and all of this stuff. But no, he tells me, you've not been selected. You're not going to speak today. And I felt so frustrated. And as I continued to go on and try to get on this talk onto speaking stuff, none of it would happen. Nobody would connect. Nothing. And then and this goes on for months. And I'm just, at this point, I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm over it. Right? How do you mean I failed at what I was trying to manifest? The TED Talk was right there. The universe gave it to me. Why would you do that to me? Why would you build my hopes up like that for months and rip it out from under me? Why would you make sure I was so perfectly connected to everyone in the TED universe on the side of, and then take it from me? I thought it was cruel. I thought it was evil. And now I had no residual place to leave my talk on some secondary stage. So I go about my normal life, still handling my clients and still giving talks on trainings on contracts and business and sales and all the other things I do. But it just wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to tell my personal story. And so I decided to do a live YouTube of that talk, and it was not good. Oh, I spoke all the words as practiced and poised as they were for that TED stage, but the audience just didn't seem to get it. And I was just like, this doesn't make sense. This is what I was trying to manifest. I thought this was it. Then I go on to speak at Nomad Cruise. As many of you know, I'm a regular speaker at Nomad Cruise, and I'm there just doing my normal contracts to entrepreneur audience and having a great time because that stuff's loads of fun. But then there was an opportunity to tell a personal story, but you only get 5 minutes. Where with TED, we were set up for me to be about 10 to 11. And you only get 5 minutes. So I was like, okay, I'll go try out. And I tried out with the beginning and ending, the intro and ending of my TED Talk. And they're like, okay, we're going to let you do it. You can come to practice, do the whole talk, and we'll do it. And so what I did is I cut so many of the secondary pieces of my TED Talk, where it was just these core pieces so I can fit into that 5-minute window, right? And I give the talk. It was rough. It was rough, right? Because so much had been cut out. And I do that in the practice, and they're like, this is too much. You can't do this. And I'm like, you don't understand. This is my life. These are the words of my life. I've already been selected to be on the stage. What are you talking about? Like, it's too much. We need to simplify it. We need to simplify it into one core thing. And by the way, you're on stage in 3 days. And I was just like, I'm so frustrated. So I sat there trying to work it this way, rework it that way. And I was like, I'm tired of this. It's been 9 months. I'm tired of trying and failing to get these words on a stage. I'm tired of failing at trying to bring my manifestation of telling my personal story to the world in a way that impacts them and helps them. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of these words, to where these words aren't even mine anymore. Like, they're not even mine. They hurt too much to say. I'm done saying them. And so I go into my coaching call there, where they help coach you to tell a better story. And I was just beyond frustrated. And I was like, I can't do this. And she's like, I can tell. And I'm like, I don't want to say these words anymore. I'm done. She's like, okay. Do you want us to pull you from the itinerary? And I go, no. She's like, okay, so what are you going to be talking about? I don't know. I don't know. She's like, well, why don't you write this as your story? The story of how you're done telling the story. And I was like, I was so exhausted, so beat up trying to get these words into the world. So as we had another coaching call the next day, I had changed a couple things, but she's like, you're still stuck on that TED Talk. You're still stuck on those words. And I'm like, these are the words I thought I was supposed to bring to the world. These are the words I spent months with a coach, thousands of dollars with a coach. These are the words. And then the night before the talk, I just go, I can't. I'm done. I'm just going to write from the heart. And I wrote a whole new introduction. And when I went on stage the next day, I decided that I was going to take the pieces of the TED Talk in bullet point form and instead say them how I would say them now and why I will never say them again, because they're not my story anymore. It's not who I am. I have grown far beyond this because I need to let go of all of it. That I had put my pain into those words. That yes, I put my heart and my soul into that talk. What I actually did was put my pain into it as well. So every time I practice those words to polish perfection for that stage, what I was actually doing was perpetuating the pain inside of myself. And it was time to let go of all of the pain. And letting go of the pain of my past meant letting go of the words and the stories too. And then as I walked on top to that stage, the closing came to me and I improvised it on the spot. And I had a standing ovation and a gathering of people over the next 3 days telling me how my story changed their lives. I had to fail at the TED Talk in order for the right words to come out on stage. I see some of you with the questions in the chat. Story. We will get rid of. I will get rid of them. I will answer them. Oh my gosh. Get rid of the words that I was trying to say on stage. Sorry, that was like two things at once. But there were two key things that happened here that I want to emphasize for you in your manifesting when you feel like you're failing. The first is looking at what you actually asked for. I had asked the universe to turn my story into words on stage that would help others, that would inspire them and help them heal. I never actually asked the universe for a TED Talk. The TED Talk is how the universe made it seem like it was going to manifest in my life. But it didn't, because that's never what I asked for. I had asked for a talk on stage to a room that was going to change them. And then the second thing is the whole process of having the TED Talk handed to me on a silver platter and then ripped from me. And then the failing over and over and over again had to happen for me to ever put those words aside. For me to ever decide this is not who I am anymore. These are not the words I want to say because I don't carry that pain. Cleaning my energetic field meant cleaning those words out. And only by doing that could I actually tell the story that was worth saying on stage. That story, by the way, that talk was recorded. It is on my channel somewhere. So if you ever want to see that, but that talk is half improvised. It really is half improvised. You could tell I had written the intro just like the night before. I'm trying to parse through my words as I get through it. And I mean, it's still a beautiful talk on stage. I still look like a professional up there, but to me, it's half improvised. And because I was in the moment saying the words the universe was asking me to speak in the way that was going to actually land with an audience that was going to change their lives. So I hope that this story of failure inspires you realizing to look at what you're actually manifesting versus what you had asked for. What are you manifesting versus what you asked for? I didn't ask for a TED Talk. I had asked for using my personal story on a stage in a way that would inspire and help people heal. That happened. That absolutely happened on that Nomad Cruise stage. The other thing was I never would have gotten there if I hadn't gone through the failure process. I had to feel like a failure. I had to get so frustrated and let it all go. I had to. Otherwise, I never would have let it all go. And that was the point. That was the message. So, okay, let's get to these questions. How did you know the breakdowns were part of the manifestation path and not a sign to stop? Ooh, okay. So, sorry, I have like allergies or something today. My eye is very itchy right now. How did I know the breakdowns were part of the manifestation path and not a sign to stop? You cannot fail at manifesting. You cannot fail at manifesting. It is okay to change what you're manifesting, but you cannot fail at manifesting. You will always attract what it is you are after. And so I knew that. I knew in my heart of hearts that this was something I was meant and called to do. In fact, there were other things I had manifested in my life that were meant to support this. So the universe had given me a lot of things saying this is what you're supposed to do with your life. And so I went on to do that with my life. And I knew that wholeheartedly, full belief, this was something I was called to do. So the only person who could give up that dream was me. And I wasn't going to give it up. I wasn't going to give it up. So it was that I was getting resistance, right? To me, resistance is outward communications that impact where you can go. And the resistance was, those aren't the words you're supposed to be saying. That's what those resistance were saying. The resistance I was feeling was not saying you're not meant to be on a stage. The resistance was ultimately saying those aren't the words you're supposed to be saying. That's why they're not landing. That's why they're not working. That's why you didn't get the TED Talk. That's why these things didn't happen. Those aren't the words you're supposed to be saying. So that's where the resistance was. It wasn't the resistance had said, stop trying to manifest a talk that does this impact. It was, those aren't the words. So understanding that I knew I was called to do it. You cannot fail at manifesting. You keep going. And the resistance I was feeling was not me being on stage, but the words I was going to say. What did I do in the moment when everything felt like it was failing? Screamed, cried, kept going. Screamed, cried, and kept going. I was frustrated, but I didn't let that frustration stop me from what I was trying to do and be. I kept that going. So in those moments, of course, it's very important that you process any emotions that come up. Very, very important that you process any emotions that come up, because those emotions are either signals of what you should be doing, right? How you feel in your body tells you if you're in alignment or not. If you're happy, you're in alignment. If you're not happy, you're not in alignment. And that's what was going on, right? I was frustrated. Something wasn't in alignment. But other parts I knew for sure were. I know I'm a speaker. I know I'm a trainer. I know I belong on stage. I know these things. These aren't questions to me on that, but the words. So yeah. Did I ever feel like giving up on manifesting altogether? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. There have been 2 times in my manifesting journey where what the universe gave me was frustrating or even scary. Very, very scary, one of them. But what a lot of us think in manifesting, and this is something that goes wrong in manifesting in our mentals, manifesting is not just good things happening to you. Manifesting is saying, dear universe, give me the people, the resources, and experiences that turn me into the person that has this moment, that has this moment on stage, that has this moment of money in my bank account, that has this moment of leading a business or the perfect partner, whatever that is, turn me into that person. And sometimes that means we have to have a pretty shitty ass moment. And the universe has done that to me twice. And one of them scared me. But I understood why it happened. I did. And I understood that it needed to happen. At least on some level, parts of that needed to happen for everything else to fall into place. So as much as I would never have chosen those moments in my life, I do know that they were moments the universe gave me in a timely manner to help me get what I had asked for. Because we don't choose the how, the universe does. And so while I'd like to say that it's always been a happy, warm, fuzzy ride, it hasn't been. But I've always gotten to what I've been manifesting. And that's ultimately what I'm after, right? What's the difference between ignoring reality and holding faith in your vision? Okay. So, holding faith in your vision is important. And that's a decision you make from the inside. You decide on the inside, this is it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to manifest this moment in my life. And you know that. You've decided. Nothing can take that from you. You are determined. It is yours. Where reality, I love that you've chosen this word. Reality is, Wallace C. Wattles in The Science of Getting Rich says, to think the truth is to be in the truth regardless of appearances. Regardless of appearances, whatever you think is happening is what's happening to you. And so what that means is the way you think about your reality creates your reality. What is scary to me is not scary to you. What's easy to do for me is not easy to do for you, and vice versa. What is simple and obvious for you may not be simple and obvious for other people. So the idea that knowing who you are on the inside, what you're being called to do, and then your reality is merely how you're perceiving what's happening around you. It's merely the thought process going on inside your head and your subconscious, what's happening there. So you're taking in your reality how you want to take it. So if it's not coming up the way you want, change the way you're thinking about it. Change the way you're thinking about this. This happens a lot in relationships, friendships, family, dating, marriage, where he does this to me on purpose. I know he does it to me on purpose. Well, you're believing that. And then it turns out maybe they just do it because that's their favorite thing. It had nothing to do to you. It had nothing to do about being on purpose. But your reality, the way you're thinking about the situation, is going to perceive it that way. It's going to take that reality and make it yours. So in manifesting, be mindful of this. All right, I see this happening in my life. Is there another way to look at this? Can I see it differently? And most importantly, can I see it with love? Is the way I'm looking at it with love for me, for what I'm calling in, for the universe, for others? If that is not a loving way of looking at things, ask yourself if there's another way, because there always is. There's always a loving way to look at things. And then you start to change your reality. So it wasn't so much so I knew on the inside I was meant to manifest that talk. I didn't know that was going to be the process. I didn't know that was going to be the how, right? I thought I was going to be on the TED stage. And it's very interesting because the whole process has made me now be like, I don't really ever want to be on the TED stage. I start to feel like the TED stages are saturated and overdone now, to where I'm almost like, I'm glad I didn't end up on a TED stage. But that's my perception of reality right now. That doesn't mean that's your perception of reality. And my perception of all of that might change someday. But it's giving me I'm actually okay. I'm grateful for the way it happened more than anything. Yeah. Looking back, what failure was most important for making it happen? Well, just the feeling of failure. Just the feeling of failure. I think it's something that everyone has experienced at some point, but the feeling of failure, and then it's stacking over and over again until I hit a tipping point. And I was just like, yeah. So I don't know that there was one particular failure, but it's the culmination of them. That tipping point of just, I can't take it anymore. I'm done with this. I'm done saying these words. I'm done trying to make this happen. I'm done. I don't want to say these words anymore. I'm frustrated with trying to hold myself together on the inside to get these words to land. That was one thing about those words, is that they were so dense in emotion that in order for me to deliver them, I had to feel that density and emotion in me. And then I didn't want to have to be in that space every time I practiced it, every time I got up on the stage. And that's what happened at an Homebound cruise. I went in there and I was like, I don't even feel like saying these words. So when I said them, they were polished and perfect and with the right intonations and everything that you have when you practice for a TED stage. But ultimately, inside, I was just like, fuck it. I don't care anymore. And that came through. That came through the audience. And I didn't realize that, but our energetic state comes through. So I needed to come to a place where I was internally in alignment and say words that came from that place. And those are the words that changed people's lives. All right, one more. How do you now view failure when it happens in other areas of your life? All right. So to me, failure is, oh, let's see. I used to have like an actual answer for this. Let's see if I can remember it. So failure usually means one of two things. It usually means we've set an expectation or a timeline on something. So fail, and I had set an expectation, right? I was going to have that TED talk. That was the expectation I had set. And then I thought it was going to happen on that timeline. So when that didn't happen, I felt like a failure. I have a friend who is also a bit of a client when she first started her business, and something didn't happen on the timeline she wanted. She's like, that's it, I failed. And I'm like, girl, you have multiple investors trying to get into your business because they love your idea, and you're going to stop because you failed because it didn't happen on the timeline you arbitrarily chose? What? And that, like, it's not that she ever failed. What is failure? Failure is deciding an arbitrary moment or timeline and saying that the standard and that it didn't happen, that's it, it's done. So one, failure can just be reframed. We were just talking about reality, right? Reframe failure. Why did you feel like a failure? And then the second thing is there is no such thing as failure. There really isn't. It is merely more information. It is information about you, information about what you're trying to do, more information about the process, right? These failures of, I didn't get the TED talk. Well, I didn't do that. That was not me, but it led me to learn more about the process. Taught me to explore more about the types of scenarios that I might end up having to speak into. And it taught me to change the words and to let go. So there is no such thing as failure. So was that whole experience a failure? I manifested what I asked to manifest. I wouldn't call that a failure, but I had to feel the pain and the frustration along the way in order to let go of what I needed to let go of. So that's what I would say about failure is those two things. Yeah. All right, if you want to grab the manifesting guide, it's there, ceolegalcoach.com/manifesting guide. I'll put the QR code up for you right now. This is designed for entrepreneurs, but of course you can use it for any type of manifesting, but it is geared towards business owners a little bit more because we manifest differently, the way we hold our energy in our space and so on. It is available to you. And of course, this is the Align Business Series. It's Friday. This is what happens on Fridays, right? It's Friday, and we go live Fridays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And I will see you all next week as we continue talking about manifesting for business owners. See you then.